大家好，欢迎大家收看华人工商业论坛。在美国，有很多朋友在面对警察的询问的时候，总会承认不该承认的事情。如果遇到警察搜车询问的时候，到底哪些话可以说，哪些话不可以说呢？今天，安娜律师所的创始律师 安娜戴密奇将为大家详细的分析这个问题。在请安娜律师介绍之前，我先简单的介绍一下安娜律师哈。安娜律师主要专精刑法和移民法，拥有纽约、加州、宾夕法尼亚、华盛顿州、威斯康星州的律师执业资格。安娜律师楼的律师们都精通英语、普通话、西班牙语和俄语，曾经在多个州代理被联邦起诉或者是调查的客户能为被指控最严重罪名的被告人提供辩护。安娜律師您好，安娜 hello。
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in. Hello. Thank you for a beautiful introduction.
Thank you, Anna, for joining us today. 我知道您有很多客户在面对警察询问的时候呢，总会承认不该承认的事情能否为大家介绍一个您客户的案例，看看他们在面对警察的时候到底犯了什么样的错误呢
？Yes, it's unfortunately, it's a pet peeve of mine. I see it all the time. One case can be an example for tens and hundreds of cases where the same thing essentially happens over and over again. Most often, I see it in case of drug-related traffic stops. It's when the driver, a person would get stopped by the police, and first mistake they make, the police officer would ask to search the car. And our client, our future client at that point, would say, okay, give permission, give consent. It's something they really don't have to do. They do not have to agree to getting their car searched. And then second thing that happens in this type of cases, there's a substance found in the car. And then usually what I see people doing is they try to say that whatever is being found is not as bad as the police says it is. So the conversation would go something like, the police would say, we found substance in the car. Is it cocaine? And our future client at that point would say, no, it's ketamine, or no, it's something else. And that's a big, big, big mistake, because it shows that the person is familiar with the substance being in their car. They know they have drugs in the car, they're transporting drugs. It makes the case a lot more difficult compared to if the person has just not said anything or said, I'd like to speak to my lawyer. I choose to maintain silence.
Thank you, Anna. 一般来讲呢，遇到警察之后警察问什么样的问题是可以保持沉默的呢？哪些问题是可以或者是必须回答的 ，Anna？
In case of traffic stops, I recommend being open with identifying oneself. Also, if the police tell you that there is some specific violation, usually you have to show your ID, the vehicle registration and license, driver's license and registration. These things are perfectly fine to answer. Everything past that, you're not obligated to answer. You don't have to tell them if you're driving for business or pleasure. You don't have to tell them where you're driving to or from. You definitely don't need to give them permission to open up your car and search it. You don't need to tell them what's in your car. Oftentimes, if they ask if there are firearms in your car and there are no firearms, it's safe to say no. But generally past identification and providing your driver's license and insurance, you don't have to answer any questions, and it cannot be held against you if you refuse to answer questions.
如果已经跟警察谈了不该谈的事情呢，再找律师是不是还有效呢？从刚才安娜律师说到的这个案子来讲安娜律师，您是如何帮助到您的客户的呢？ Anna?
So there are still lots of things we can do. Everything depends on the specifics of the case. The one thing we have been able to do before, and that's a winner, is if we can show that the stop itself was unlawful, then the whole case goes away. But that really is very case specific. Another thing we can do is we always look at, especially with many of our clients being Chinese speaking, we always look at whether there was an interpreter present or used in any way, whether it was a quality interpreter, whether the person fully understood what was going on and fully understood that they did not really have to give consent, whether they were scared, whether they felt threatened. And depending on that, we may be able to argue that there was no proper consent given, the car should have never been searched, and the whole questions asked and answered by our client were misunderstood and should not be taken as face value to prove the prosecution's case. Alternatively, sometimes not much can be done. You know, the police are also in some areas pretty smart when it comes to this kind of stuff. So they do have an interpreter. They do make sure that they're not hostile, that they make the person feel reasonably comfortable. And in that case, it may be pretty hard to fight the case. And then we'll work with the specifics to see, okay, how much substance, what kind of substance. And sometimes all we can do is go to the prosecutor and argue that this particular person should be given a break because it's a first offense. There's immigration consequences that will make any conviction a disaster for this person's life, right? And it's a good person. This person does not deserve such harsh punishment. So there's still a lot of things we can do in a lot of cases, and essentially they are case specific. And the thing to remember is you want to get a hold of lawyers as quickly as possible, right? Best of all, before you say anything to the police. Best of all, before you even decide whether to let them search your car or not to search your car. The sooner you get to a qualified attorney, the better. Then we can do more to mitigate the damage or stop you from causing more damage to yourself.
好，非常感谢安娜。Anna, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. It's great that you have me. Thank you.
感谢安娜律师事务所的安娜律师给大家介绍在美国是否可以拒绝警察搜车这个话题哈，也感谢大家的收看，我们下期再见。